You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona, and with me always are my good friends,
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And AK Mike in Texas.
And we are welcoming you back to a wonderful episode. We last time we talked, we discussed our birthdays. AK Mike and I both had birthdays, and they were nice enough to get me my 3D printer. And since then, I've been just going crazy on it.
He hates it.
Yeah, it's
worst present
really,
ever.
Worst present ever. That's right.
Yeah,
Don't ever let
me
AK Mike and Jay pick out a present again for him. Ever.
Exactly.
We'll call his wife instead.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I've had a really good time with that. And then this week we're touching base because I told Mike that he had gotten his gift and we had spent so much time talking about mine, we didn't get to talk about his. So this episode is all around Jay and I pitched in, and we got AK Mike a gift. And so all of us within the last 2 months have gotten new gifts from each other. And Mike, why don't you tell us what you got?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm embarrassed.
You don't have to be embarrassed.
I'm not embarrassed of the gift. It was an awesome gift, and I say was. I let it slip.
Oh yeah, well we'll get to that later. Why don't you start from the beginning?
So when I got the gift, it came early, and unlike Mike and Jay, I think Jay had the same problem. Mine didn't have any pictures on it. It was just brown box. So I thought, could be, some kind of, brown chicken, brown cow kind of thing. But then I noticed, that the return label was set for, a couple of hobby stores. So that wasn't it. So I knew it had to be some hobby related item. So that's the first thing. So I put it away and had to forget about it. Yeah, I actually waited.
Mike waited, yeah.
I waited for the actual birthday. It was 12:01 though. I was in
it was 12:01.
12:01. I think Jay was on the phone when I opened it.
That's awesome.
We were talking. Anyway, so what I got was a ZOHD. I call it Zod. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, or Zode. And it was a MK3. It is a badass looking plane. I mean, it's
cool.
Sort of a jet-looking thing. It's a pusher prop,
right?
And it's FB. It has enough room for all the FB feed stuff if I want to use it that way. It's very sleek looking, and but does have no instructions, none.
But that's typical of those planes, right?
I don't remember, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that makes a good point. But then I watched some guy's video. He took an hour and a half or something to talk about it. I did not watch the entire hour and a half. I skipped through and just watched the parts about where do I put, where the screws go.
Mistake number one.
No, I don't. That was not a mistake, actually. It went well. I had most of the screws in the right places. There was four left.
Except for the comment hey, I got a whole bunch of parts left over. And I'm just like,
where'd all these parts go?
That's I said. I had about four parts left. I was like, where in the heck do these go? So I watched a little bit of it and skipped through his video and found out where they went. So I found all the places for where all the parts go. So that's all good. And the plane went together really quickly. I mean, truly was a snap to put together. That's the great thing about that plane is that I could take it apart, put it back in the box, and bring it to Arizona, which is what the original hope was.
Mm-hmm.
But so then I put it together, and then they also gave me a gyro, which was awesome. It connected right up. The instructions were reasonable. They weren't super clear, but because I've used gyros before, it was pretty straight. I figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
The one downside of it is you have to use a computer to program it. I don't like that. But I think my Lemon one didn't do that. We didn't have to have it. We just had to know what the beep signs were or something. It was a pretty straightforward setup.
Well, you can get another part of that. They have
like a programming card.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have a programming card for it.
And so for me, I probably would get that because I wouldn't always remember to bring my laptop. I happened to on the day of launch because I just realized that I might need it. So I thought I want to pack that up too and bring it out there with me.
So the lemon one that you were talking about earlier, I think had pots on it. That's why it was easier because you just rotated the pots.
Yeah, I don't remember,
it had
but
like 3 settings.
But it did have a channel for remote gain as well as the pot gain, if I remember right. As long as you plugged it. Yeah, as long as you plugged it into the right places. So anyway, that went together pretty well. And then the escape, I had to program the brake, and I just YouTubed that, and that was fine. That worked great.
There you go.
And
the ESC, you mean?
No, it says escape for me.
It's an IT guy. I'm telling you, it's right here on my end of my thing.
I hit the keyboard. It does exactly what I want it to do.
That's right, ESC.
The ESC. So
that's funny.
So that's all. It all went together really well. I had to, it was sad, and I think this had to do with. It must have had to do with the ESC, but the colors. It had a red, a yellow, and a black. So I don't know about you, but I would plug in red, yellow, and black. That's how I would do it. And when I did it that way, the motor turned the wrong direction, right? For the motor wires. Yeah. It turned the wrong direction. And I think it's because it's a pusher and not a tractor is why that took place. So I just swapped 2 of the wires. No big deal, but it was just like, it'd have been cool if that was that easy. But if I think about it, if I give some thought, having a pusher, it makes sense that you would have to reverse 2 wires because most motors are tractors. And in this case, it's not an inline. I mean, what do you call it? An
in-runner.
In-runner. Thank you. Yeah, it wasn't an in-runner. It's an
outrunner. Yeah, outrunner.
Yeah,
in-runner is it?
Yeah, it's like an Audi. It's an Audi. It's not an.
It's an Audi. No. The mass production ones, which I think most of the EPP or the FPV ones are kind of mass produced for forward flight, and so they just produce them on the factory floor, and then when you get them, if the thing is reversed and it's pushing, the prop changes, but then you got to run the motor backwards too. So
right, exactly.
That's pretty common, I think.
Yep. So that was all good, and then I decided to put a 3-cell motor in there. It calls for a 4-cell. Thank the Lord I didn't put a 4-cell in there because if I did, it would have been even worse. But the 3-cell, and by the way, it wasn't even charged up all the way.
Mistake number 2.
It had plenty of power. That thing
what
wanted to jump out of my hand. What's that? The bigger prop. I didn't do any watt testing, and I'm happy to do that for if anybody's interested, do some watt testing on it just to see what kind of watts it puts out. But I don't think it probably got over the 40 amps that the ESC was rated for.
Right, and just to let everybody know, the reason we sent him another prop because, as Mike was saying, the plane is rated for 4-cell, and I knew that Mike was not going to. He doesn't have any 4 cells. He's a 2200. 3S man. That's what he is. Right. That's what he's all about. So I knew that we had to get him a different prop. So I got him a 7.7. I think I got you a 7. It usually goes with.
I know it was bigger. I didn't really look at it. I think it was a 7.6 or 7.7
or something, and I got him a 7.7. And I knew that would give him the speed or the equivalency of having a 4-cell on the.
It definitely had enough juice. It definitely jumped. So. That leads to the flight. Now,
let's hear it.
Before I took off, actually, Mike, that's not fair. I have not made a mistake yet. That's not fair.
I'm just leading up to it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it is 3 mistakes deep, but not yet.
Yeah, well, not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're getting ahead of yourself is all.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to deny you the 3 mistakes, but definitely. So, I think mistake number 1 was not having somebody there.
Okay.
Because, let me rephrase that. There were people there, but they had no idea what, give me some more right rudder or right elevator or right or up or down.
Right.
They don't know that stuff. And you'd have to explain stuff. And I chose not to do that. Okay? Not to bother with somebody who didn't know. That's probably mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 was the shock of how fast the thing took off. That put me in instant panic. Now, before I took off, though, I did catch myself. It would have been a short flight, but I checked the aileron directions and the elevon directions. Really, it's what these are. And I was like, oh, dang, I had set it right at home, but for whatever reason, it got unset. So it wasn't working in the field. So I had to connect it all back up again to the computer, and I had to reprogram it one more time so that it would work. And so then...
So your gyro was not working? Or your ailerons?
The ailerons were not... Because at the gyro there, it feeds those ailerons and elevons. So whatever comes out of the transmitter doesn't just flow through. You have to talk to the... It actually talks to the gyro even though it's turned off. So I could actually do things like reverse my throw. I can change a bunch of things inside the gyro, even though the gyros aren't turned on. So it has servo control.
It's not doing its gyro function.
It's kind of like a mini Demon, really. To be honest with you, when I looked at it, the options are like, oh, this is pretty cool for what this does, right?
Right.
So, but I had the gyro turned off. Okay. Which might have actually been a mistake. Because what I didn't do was think about the fact that I probably need to have multiple rates. But then I thought, well, I want full rates because I want to be able to control the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, it should be fine, right? Of course, that's what you say before you make an accident.
It's true.
Should be fine.
This should be fine.
If you hear those words coming out of your mouth, if you hear those words coming out of your friend's mouth, Jay, if you hear those words coming out of your friend's mouth, Jay,
yeah, exactly.
It should be fine. You should stop and reevaluate that statement.
Yeah.
So it took off, and it was squirrely as hell. So sensitive. And I tried really hard to not. I mean, it was so sensitive.
Right.
And because I was going as fast as I was to take it off, because I didn't want to dive it into the dirt by not having a good takeoff, that thing just flew like a bat out of hell. And I took the first 3 seconds, and it was only 3 seconds, trying to get a handle on the, left, right, not turning it over just on that stick.
So,
problem was,
hey, Mike,
I gotta
ask a question.
Yeah,
so,
that's what this is for.
Prior to
that's why I'm embarrassing myself right now.
So prior to taking off and everything, did you watch any videos of anybody else flying that thing? Because remember when we were talking, I said, hey man, check out some videos of some people talking.
Yeah, I watched the video to put it together, but I didn't watch like the whole video to listen to how the guy handled it. I didn't watch because it was an hour and a half long. There's no way I was going to watch all that.
But you didn't watch any other videos of guys flying it?
No, just the one.
Oh.
Just the one.
Okay.
But I knew it was fast. Like from that video, I knew it was fast. I knew it was going to be fast. But I thought
I sent you some videos of people flying that thing.
No, you just said watch videos.
Okay.
And maybe you sent me one link, but that was the link I think I played. But again, I didn't watch, like, the guy didn't have my radio. The guy didn't. There was a lot of different things. So I was like, I don't want to watch what he has to say or listen to what he has to say because none of it fits my circumstance.
That's fair.
Was my mindset. That was my
maybe
mindset.
I didn't convey that well to you because that's why I was like, hey man, that's why we sent you the gyro because this thing is just like the fun.
Let me just blame this whole thing on you then, Jay. I mean, it's all your fault that I crashed it.
I'll take responsibility.
I'm not doing that.
So your embarrassment is now over. Jay, you're embarrassed now.
Yeah, you should be embarrassed now.
Yes,
exactly.
I'm so embarrassed.
I can't believe you did that, Jay.
If I had a way to shift the embarrassment over to
photo.
Yeah,
this is it. Yeah. You just noticed.
Look in my eye. Whew, I probably won't be able to show my face in public for at least
honestly, Jay
5
looks
minutes.
embarrassed now.
Yep.
So anyway, 3 seconds later, that thing is 3 acres away.
Wow.
It was hauling ass.
Yeah.
Hauling ass. This guy has a 15-acre farm that I was flying it off of. Trees lined on all sides, and then 3 trees. Count them, only 3 in the far right section. It's actually not part of his property, but it's in the far right section. Those trees will come in play later. So I realize I'm getting. Here's what I hear in my head. Mike, you're flying it too far away from you. Yeah, I know, Jay. Yeah, I know, Mike. Be quiet. I'm trying to steer the damn thing. I can't even control it Could you give me some right? Oh, you're not standing there. I can't get anybody to give me some right aileron.
Right.
How am I going to do this? Oh, all right. First step, reduce the throttle. Well, that's good.
That's true.
Don't reduce it too much. It might go in the dirt. No, that thing kept flying. At half throttle, or maybe even below half throttle, I still had to manage the up and down. I mean, it was going.
Now, was it pitch sensitive or just
no, not
at
all. No. I had it. I had the CG awesome.
Perfect. Okay.
I did have it awesome. I don't know if it was perfect, but I had it awesome.
Good.
That was one thing I was very careful to check. I noticed that the battery is all the way forward because guess what? It's a light battery. And so I was a little bit concerned it was going to be pitchy because of that, but not at all. It was left-right pitchy, but it was not up-down pitchy.
Rolly. It was left-right
It was roly-poly. It was roly-poly.
It was a rolly.
And so I was able to get to turn right, so now I still got lots of field. Everything's cool. I got it slowed down, but I am struggling like hell to see it now because it's 3 or 4 acres away, and it rotated left on the natural. So I couldn't leave the stick alone. I couldn't leave the stick alone.
It's super torquey.
I had to keep it
super torquey. Yeah,
super torquey. Right. So I had to put in input, and then I start to turn more, and it would turn more than I wanted. I'd go back, and I'd go back too far. So it was really like just wobbling the whole way, right? Because it needed a little more finesse than I was giving it. And I started turning back toward me. It's like, okay, I got some degree of control, and it's turned back toward me. I think the wind hit me. There wasn't a lot of wind, but I got a gust over. I was right at the treetop level, and I got a gust, and that sucker flipped right over. And I was like, oh, no. But I spun it back. And I pulled it toward me. It was coming toward me, and then I lost orientation on it because it was just too far away. I mean,
it's so brightly colored that you
white and black. Yes.
That's. I asked Jay, I said, should we get him some paint or something for this? He's like, he'll be all right.
It wouldn't have mattered. I'll be honest with you. It was so far away. I would not have been able to see the paint either. It wouldn't
could
have
been bright orange.
I mean, it just, what would have been smarter for me to do. I was trying to fly it flat. It would have been way smarter for me to pull up and just send that thing into the air.
So that was one of the things that I was going to ask in this whole conversation, because that's why I asked if it was pitch sensitive, because, listening to your story, and I, before this episode, I'd kind of, had chatted with you, but I understand that if we're trying to fly level and make the turn, sometimes it's easier just to get some altitude and then pull the power off altogether.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a glider.
And it wasn't, I actually didn't think of that till just this moment. This moment did I realize that. Now, I was up. I think I was up 300 feet, 200 feet maybe.
Yeah, so there are a couple of mistakes high.
I was a couple of mistakes high. So I wasn't like flying it low to the ground or anything. But it was just,
but if you're trying to maintain level flight around and you're still trying to,
truly,
I can see that.
Yeah. And so if I'd gone straight up and it rotated around, that would have been fine. It would just kept going in the air, and then I could have cut the throttle, then try to figure out where it was as it was coming down, right, and manage it on the way down.
Right.
The other thing would have been great was
you could have put a couple of trim in it too. If you pitched up and you just
let it
go, then you could have went click, 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 click.
I probably could have, right? You're probably right, but I just didn't. And that's the other problem with not having a person there. If you're going to back up to one of the first things is having a person available, you got to have a mind that isn't flying, giving you ideas or just pushing buttons for you, right?
Sure.
One of the two. If you or Jay were there and you said, "Hey, climb," that little suggestion would have been. I'd have been like all over it. Like I'd have done it.
Right.
But to process that and keep it level and slow it down and know which the orientate, like that's just too much for my brain to manage. Mike, you could probably do it, but my brain doesn't work that fast. I had my birthday, so it must have clicked over. I don't know. So
we lost another shelf.
Slow. Yeah. I had 5 gears before, but maybe one of them is gone. Yeah, the transmission slipped. Let's just say that.
No, I totally get it. It's
so I realized I didn't have it anymore. and it was kind of going toward the dirt. And I was like, crap, kill the throttle.
Yeah.
Because if it's going to go toward the dirt, I don't want to go in that speed. I want to go in that foam speed, whatever that happens to be.
Right. Foam speed.
The also awesome thing was it's very tall grass over there in that area where it was going down. I was on the edge of the tree line about 100 yards in, and I had turned to come, I guess it would be base, right? Base is before final, right?
Yeah. Base final.
I turned to come base, and that's when this stuff started happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I killed the throttle. I was trying to figure out what it was. I give it a pull up. It started to come up, so I yanked it up, but no throttle. And I yanked it up, and it started to level out. And then it just went behind this tree. I thought it went behind this tree and went down. I thought, crap. Well, the guy, when he crashed it, it was okay. And this is tall grass. Maybe I'll luck out.
Mm.
So I'm trudging over there. And it's way the hell on the other side of the field, like way the hell.
Always.
The far corner,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I get over there and I hear this. It's like, okay, well, that's the motor.
Nice.
I wonder why. And I look down at my retransmitter. I still had the motor going. What an idiot. But it was in a tree, so it didn't matter. It showed me where it was, and I got to it. And I first saw it. I was like, oh, like nothing's wrong with it. It looks solid. And then I got a little closer, and I lost the aileron, snapped in half, and a piece of the wing broke. And it messed up the FPV nose. I put the FPV nose on thinking, oh, I'll fly it once, and then I'll put my FPV gear, and then we'll go from there. I should have put the other sting in there because now that FPV nose is messed up too. But I could buy another one.
Sure.
All the parts are replaceable, right? So really, it didn't take too hard of a hit. The batteries stayed in there. I do have to say, I love the compartments. They're big. You don't have to, like, it's not crowded in there. The motor was kind of a pain in the butt to put on, but if you stick it one wire at a time, it went fine. But the way things are mounted is awesome. With screws, the wings are screwed on. I may have broken a wing screw, so I didn't check that. I just realized I might have, because one of the wings was loose. I think I tightened them on all the way, so it probably got broken because it hit that tree probably pretty hard.
Yeah.
It was more of a shrubbish type of a tree. It's those trees that are kind of, if you have a bunch of them next to each other, you're never getting through kind of trees.
Right.
And it was just straight down into the tree, straight down in.
Looks more like a bush than a tree.
Yeah, it looks more like a bush than a tree, exactly. Now, hopefully you guys can put the pictures up on the YouTube video so that they can show, because I took pictures of at least the plane in the tree and maybe the plane after the tree.
Yes,
I think.
And
maybe you have one before too, but I don't know if that matters too much because you can see those anywhere. But yeah. So all in all, it was frustrating to have lost it, because I was like, "This is gonna be fun." The thing was going so fast, right? And then I was like, "Wait, this is not fun. I cannot control this thing." And also, I think I would have been willing to have someone flick the switch for the gyro, because I think that might have saved me. But I didn't.
It may have or may not.
But I didn't do it because I didn't know what was going to happen. So I chose not to flick it myself.
Right.
But if somebody else was flying with me, they could have turned it on and back off quick enough. I couldn't have done that by myself and continued to fly it. Right. So that's the real challenge. But
it's one of those things. Listen to your story and having talked to you about it. Some of the things that I kind of waited to mention till today when we're on the podcast is that you can probably. I can't remember, but you could probably count on two hands how many maidens, that you personally have completed, right?
Yes, that's right. One hand.
One hand. So there you go. So I mean, it's very difficult when you have, I can't even remember, how many I've done, and I've done them for so many different people over the years.
Sure.
And so, there's certain things that happen, And it's one of those things that you have to be in the right mindset, and you can't get flustered. If you get flustered, then things don't go right. And
right.
And then you have to understand, what if I do get flustered, how do I get out of that, and how do I get this thing back into my control?
Right.
And when you're busy, what I call falling behind the airplane. So most guys, when they get this airplane, they're a little nervous. Then they're not ahead of it. They're kind of in the cockpit, so to speak. When you launch it, you move from the cockpit to the back end of it to behind it to 10 feet behind it, and then it's all over, right? So, it moves pretty quickly.
To that end, Mike, I'd say that I was in front of it and way behind it, and then back in front of it again, and then way behind it. And it really was like that. And I, because I had enough wherewithal to reduce my power.
Right.
I was like, this is so squirrely. Oh, you know what? If I just reduce my power, that should be fine.
I'm at full throttle.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't think I was at full, but I mean, I was fast enough, right?
Right.
And so that did help, but it wasn't enough because by that point, it had gone. The other thing, when I initially tossed it, there was a power pole right in front of me. Not right in front of me, 100 feet away. And it was going right at it. And I was like, of course. And it was, rocking and rolling. So here I am trying to not panic out of hitting the pole. And I got past it and I was like, okay, I'm good. I got a second. Damn, this thing is fast. I should slow it down. And by then it's 3 acres away. I mean, it was just down the end of the field. And so
do you think it's faster or the same as the Tough Wing? Because you were here flying the Tough Wings.
Well, one of the things about the Tough Wing is when it's trimmed, it just flies.
Right.
And I couldn't let go of the stick. If I could have, I would have been better off. But because it wasn't trimmed, it was flying. I couldn't let go of the stick.
You couldn't let go of the aileron
elevator. Yeah, aileron elevator stick. That's right.
But this
I had to hold on to it.
This airplane is an elevon.
Yeah, so it's an aileron.
So what was your left hand doing?
Managing the throttle.
Shouldn't have been doing anything.
Right, it was managing the throttle.
Yeah.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that a lot of people, you were so focused on this that literally your left hand could have reached over and given yourself trim.
No. Nope. I don't have that dexterity or the presence of mind to be able to reach over to the right spot to do it.
Fair enough.
And I was managing the throttle as best I could, right?
Right.
So I mean, it wasn't doing absolutely nothing, but I get your point. And I could have probably done it even with my right hand. I could have done it, but I just was afraid to let go.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I totally, can see that, and I totally appreciate, being in the moment and trying to, manage that, especially with some nerves then there. But there, the good news is that, I mean, even the pictures that I saw, you shouldn't feel too embarrassed. I mean, I understand why you said that, but it is fixable. It is flyable. It is an FPV airplane, so the thing has got to have some great floating capabilities, and it should fly slow as well as fast. And that's kind of when we were looking at the ones Jay and I were talking about as a replacement for the Fun Racer, because the Fun Racer was one of those that it flew fast all the time. It didn't really ever slow, right?
Yeah, you're right.
It was just like boom, fast.
You kind of had to fly it fast.
You did.
It's a requirement. Yeah.
Right. And so this one, when Jay and I were talking about it, he said, "Oh, you should really look at this version because this version will slow down. It's an FPV, so it should loiter around out there." And I said, "Oh, that's pretty good. That way he doesn't have to be panicked and fly it." So we're happy that you kind of got it together and then did get out to fly it. And then, like I said, maybe I can get a overnight in Dallas where I can kind of come help you and we can get it repaired and get out there and fly it. But I think you'll enjoy it. I mean, if you look past what happened and kind of get over that part, it's a good frame, right? I mean, your complaints.
Yeah. I mean, I liked the plane. I mean, it's not the plane; it's the pilot, right? And
exactly.
I mean, really, yeah, exactly. And I tried. Unfortunately, I did try talking to Jay earlier today to have conversation around it, but he was busy doing stuff, and then you were working. I think you and I texted a little bit
I was out of the country.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, we talked for a little bit via text, and that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I really needed some more conversation, I think, around that too before I flew it. If I think about it now, I probably shouldn't have flown it. Even though it was a good day, it was relatively nice weather, and not too windy and not too gusty.
Right.
But I don't think I had all the things. It's good to have someone else give you the checklist. Did you check this? Did you check that? Even though I'm sure I would roll my eyes. Yes, Jay, I checked. Yes, I checked that. It's still good to have your friends put up with your nonsense and ask you those questions anyway, so that you don't do what I did, which is crash the plane.
Right. Well, it's I mean, the good news is, like I said, it could be much worse. It could look like your fundraiser did after Jay flew it, and it doesn't. So.
But we fixed it.
Well, that's true, but
and it flew fine.
It flew kind of.
And that's why foam is a great. Yeah, it's a great. Yeah, it's because you can fix it.
Yeah.
Even if you have to use different kinds of foam to fill in gaps or whatever you have to do.
That's
true. My what's it called? The Dragonfly. That thing's got the Dragonfly's got all kinds of extra different stuff in it. And it flies just fine.
You did the night walrus with the whole different pink foam versus
exactly all that stuff. Exactly, a different elevator or stabilizer.
Made the whole thing yourself. So there you go. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, we were sorry that that kind of happened, and believe it or not, your story is not too much different from our next episode when we get to talk to Shannon about his maiden.
Okay,
and so. There are some things. It's a good learning opportunity, and not that we're throwing Mike under the bus, but it's a good learning opportunity for those that are listening about maidening. And I will tell you that you should have a maiden checklist, right? I'm big on checklists. And when you get out there, if things are not going correctly, like Mike said, just stop. Just just saying, well, you know what, it'll work out. It never works out.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It never works out.
I don't feel like. Again, the only reason I think I was super nervous to fly it is a new plane to me.
Yeah,
I
sure.
knew it was fast. I knew it was going to be fast, and there's nobody there.
Right.
But that's going to be the case for me no matter what, because I don't have a flying buddy here.
That's true.
So whenever I fly, nobody's going to be there, right? And even the people who are there, I need to move to Arizona. Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll start confusing people.
That's true.
I'm making Mike and AZ. Yeah,
Mike and AZ. There you
go. So really, I think I did do all the things I needed to do to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could have been better off to have some low mid rates, whatever, and that would have stopped some of that roll. But if I had turned the gyro on, that would have done that too. It makes me wonder.
Sometimes the gyro may have captured whatever you had in there, and that would have been. That's the only bad part about the gyros. You set them up on the bench, but if you already if the airplane's in a 20-degree bank and you flip
it was flat. I made sure.
Right, but what I'm saying is that you're activating it now, right? So when you're in there, the gyro, when you flip it on out there, if you arm the thing with the gyro off. You didn't arm it.
I did. I armed it with it on.
And then you turned it off.
Yeah.
Okay, that may have helped, but as long as the gyro settings were. But what I'm saying is if you arm it and the gyro's off, and then you fly it and it's out of trim, and you think the gyro will help if you flip it on.
It's just dump it anyway. Yeah, I get it.
It could totally think it's level when it's not.
Which again makes the whole idea of heading to the skies, flicking the gyro on, watch what it does, and flicking the gyro back off just to see.
That is correct.
Even if you don't even leave it on, you just flick it on, turn it back off right away, just to see how the plane reacts.
But you could have done the same thing without the gyro by just pulling it to the vertical and
then flying
it.
I
know that I'm not a big aerobatic guy on the maiden flight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which you'll hear next week, or 2 weeks from now. But at the same time, if you got altitude, you can always pull it off and make a glider out of it, and then you got rid of all of the power portion, and now you're just using
all the torque
energy to manage.
Yeah.
Right. So you have no torque, especially on a
exactly.
On a prop.
And I could have trimmed it out and then the next flight
Correct.
around, or
that
even hit the power as I came down after I trimmed it.
That is correct. Right.
Yeah,
which is what we do a lot with when we fly the tough wings.
Hadn't considered it. Yeah, I hadn't considered it. So.
But those are some of the things you kind of got to look for. Have a checklist. When you get out there, think about what happens if things don't go right, and then how do I get out of the situation? And I think if you kind of go into that mentally, you'll be a little bit ahead of the airplane.
I have a catch-all for that. If things don't go well, you crash it. It's a catch-all.
That's easy to do if it's your own airplane. If it's someone else's airplane, you got to want to.
Oh no! I mean, Jay's got that worked out. That's your fault because you didn't check it out. You didn't check it out.
That wasn't the case with this particular one.
No,
that's true.
I mean, you took care of all the basics of having the plane prepped. I just wish you would have watched a few videos because it sounds like it surprised you that it was so torquey and it was so fast, and that's why I was saying to you, hey man, watch these videos, or hey, this is just like your fundraiser.
The fast wasn't surprising. Yeah, the fast wasn't surprising, but the sensitivity was, and there really wasn't much I could do about it in flight.
Right.
Except for.
Do you think that was a mechanical setting? You think something was just slightly off?
No.
Or you just think
it was mechanical?
Well, if it was it
just my radio?
Turning?
No, just my radio.
So
needed
a little
trimming.
expo.
Yeah, whatever it was, it just needed some trimming. If I had added expo, that might have helped, but I don't know. It probably just got worse because it's hard to know. It's hard to know, Mike, without really having you guys look at it and kind of give feedback about well, what if we did this? What would happen? And then fly it again, right?
Sure.
And the problem is you have to not crash it to really kind of have the experience of, well, we made this change and this is what happened. And we didn't have that.
Right. Well, just think about it this way. First maiden flight of your fundraiser kind of didn't go as well either, so you're at least consistent. So you're consistent.
That's true.
Oh, my gosh.
So you can be proud of that. I am consistent.
I am consistent. If I could get $5 for that, I might be able to get a coffee.
Well, there you go. $5 and a cup of coffee, right? Exactly.
We call Montana. Maybe he'll give me some money.
There you go. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but that was a great story, and stick with us for our next episode. We got Shannon and his maiden of the big, his new big airplane that he just picked up, so we could talk about that. And maybe the next episode we can kind of relive a bunch of this stuff and kind of talk about what we've learned over the last 2 episodes.
Relive? What the hell are you talking about?
Well, I don't mean relive. I just meant, we can kind of come up with some solutions now that we hear your side and Shannon's side. Maybe we can kind of come together and see what we could do different, or I don't know. That's just the
after action report.
That's
there we go.
What that is.
Because this is kind of the action report, right? And then we get yours and Shannon's, and then
lessons
let's
learned.
talk about some of the stuff. Lessons learned, yeah, something like that. So, but anyway,
all right, boys.
All righty. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this episode. And I guess we're Michael from Arizona,
and I'm Jay from the hills of Texas,
and I'm AK Mike in Texas.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Let's not crash.
But let's go fly.
Smack.
Let's go fly.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.